By now, you've probably heard of Meta's Twitter clone, Threads. It had explosive growth in its first week of existence, only to crash back down to earth. And while it's too soon to know if Threads will end up being a viable alternative to Twitter, X, it could still play a significant role in the future of social media. For now, the biggest sign is the threads.net URL at the top of every profile. Soon, you'll be able to follow and interact with people on other Fediverse platforms, like Mastodon, it says. If you don't yet know what the Fediverse is, it's a collection of decentralized social media platforms that serve as alternatives to mainstream social media, like Twitter, Reddit, and Facebook. Platforms in the Fediverse run on an open source protocol called ActivityPub. So when Meta says that Threads will also support ActivityPub, this means that content from other Fediverse platforms could be accessible from that app as well. By all accounts, this integration isn't coming anytime soon. Meta has said that there's a lot of work they need to do to get Threads, which was built on Instagram, to support ActivityPub. But it's still enticing to some Fediverse fans. Threads' support of ActivityPub could enable millions of people to access content from across the Fediverse overnight. It would also allow Threads users to port their identity and their followers over to another app in the Fediverse. Considering Mastodon, currently the biggest platform in the Fediverse, only has about 2 million active users, this could be a very, very big deal. But the thing about the Fediverse right now is it's not that big. Mastodon, which is like a decentralized version of Twitter, has a dedicated community of users behind it. Many of them are on mastodon.social, the instance run by the nonprofit's own staff. But there are thousands of other servers maintained by users. These can be general interest forums or dedicated to specific interests and topics. Each of these servers has its own rules, and the admins behind them are responsible for enforcing them. But even if you're on a smaller server, for nature lovers or expats living in Japan, you can still view and interact with users from other servers. But what does decentralized social media even mean? At its core, decentralized social networks mean no single company or entity controls the platform or its users. And the apps and servers that make up the Fediverse are interoperable. Some fans compare it to the early days of the web, before walled gardens were the norm. Mastodon is the biggest and most influential service in the Fediverse. But there are also open source alternatives to YouTube, Instagram, and Reddit. These Fediverse apps are still pretty small, but they've been gaining in popularity over the last year. Other mainstream platforms have also started to take note. Tumblr has said it will support ActivityPub. So has Flipboard, the news reading app. Companies like Mozilla, Medium, and the BBC have also started their own instances on Mastodon to build a community of Fediverse fans. Other protocol-based social networks have also been growing. Blue Sky, another buzzy Twitter-like service, has been downloaded more than 1 million times since its launch. Its creators are building a different decentralized protocol called the AT protocol. Damus, which has been promoted by Twitter founder Jack Dorsey, has gained a following among privacy and crypto enthusiasts. It's built on a protocol called Nostr. And while Blue Sky and Damus aren't technically part of the Fediverse, they share a similar vision, untethering social media from giant corporations that depend on advertising and our data. That vision isn't new, but it's gaining momentum. Users are increasingly distrustful of companies like Reddit, Meta, and X. Over the last year, both Twitter and Reddit have cracked down on developers using their APIs. On Twitter, this killed popular third-party clients that many users had used for years. These unpopular policy changes have also highlighted the appeal of decentralized alternatives. And they can seem a lot more appealing because users have more control over the platform. Then there's Meta, whose services already reach billions of people. Supporting an open source protocol like ActivityPub could make them seem a little friendlier to would-be competitors. Or they could just be hedging their bets, just in case the Fediverse really takes off. That may be why not everyone in the Fediverse is excited for Meta to join. Some Mastodon servers have pledged to block Threads, or defederate entirely. But Mastodon's CEO, Eugen Roshko, says that Meta's involvement is proof decentralized social media is working. This is a clear victory for our cause, he said. So what do you think? Is decentralized social media the future, or is it just another passing fad? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you like this video, subscribe to Engadget for more news.